Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. I really hope you enjoy your first video. So today's video is going to be all about my job. So I have done a previous video on my job, which is called a Technical Paraplanner, but I thought I would do a follow-up video because quite a few of you asked me to go a little bit more in detail on what exactly my job involves, what a day in my life at work I guess looks like. So I thought I'd do that for you. If you want to know my background and how I got to the position I'm in now, then I'll link down below two videos. One is going to be all about apprenticeships, because I actually did an apprenticeship way back 7 years ago to become a financial administrator, which is the starting point in my career. And then I also did another video talking about how I went from a financial administrator all the way through to a technical paraplanner. So I'll link them two down below. You might want to watch them before you watch this video, or you might just want to watch this video if you're interested in one, learning more about me, or two, if you're interested in being a paraplanner and you want to know a bit more about the job. So I really hope this video is helpful, guys. I'm going to try and keep this video not too basic, but not too complicated either. So we're kind of not quite beginner level, we're like intermediate level, you know? So I hope you guys find this video helpful. So for any of you that aren't in the world of finance, I just quickly want to talk you through what a paraplanner even is. So in the world of financial advice, a paraplanner is the person that does all of the research for the financial advisor. So a financial advisor will present to a client the advice, and they're the one that's actually providing the advice. So it's coming from them, they're presenting everything to the client and making sure they explain it and understand it, and if the client wants to proceed with that advice, they sign up and it's the financial advisor that has given the advice. A paraplanner is the person that does all of the research, puts all the documents together for the advisor, so it's not me that's giving the advice, if that makes sense. And in terms of advice, the advice that a financial advisor will give is loads and loads of different things, but it's things such as pensions. So it could be setting up a new pension, it could be someone who has lots and lots of pensions and then putting them into one policy, it could be someone that's at retirement and they need to know how to take their pension benefits, it could be teaching someone about their financial situation and explaining to them how much money they need to save now to reach their goals in the future, which we do using software called cash flow forecasting. It's also investments such as ISAs, general investment accounts, onshore, offshore investments, bonds, it's tax planning, which includes income tax planning, it's inheritance tax planning. There's so many different areas to financial advice. It's a really complicated, widespread job, and there's so much to it. So I hope that gives you a little overview of what it is. And now I'm going to get into what my job actually involves. So being a technical paraplanner, I have 4 administrator paraplanners in my team who produce the work before it comes to me. So the administrator paraplanners start with the beginning part of the advice, and that's going to be gathering information on the client. So they'll complete things like fact finds, which is all the detail about the client. They'll complete things called an attitude to risk questionnaire, which basically determines the level of risk a client is willing to take with their money. They will write to a client's existing providers, be it their pension providers, their investment providers, and they'll ask them loads and loads of different questions regarding their product so that we can understand exactly what that client holds before we start recommending anything on it. They also help with annual reviews. So every single year we give our clients an annual review service, and the administrative paraplanners will put together the review pack for that, or any post-review action points, which is things like maximising ISA allowances or pension contributions, or rebalancing a portfolio, which is basically where you bring a client's investments back in line with the original recommendation. Because when you invest money for a client, you recommend a certain split. That could be property, equities, cash, all kinds of different investments, and the initial recommendation might be 20% here, 10% there, 15% there, etc. But over the year that money will grow, and some areas will grow more than others, and that means the client's asset allocation, i.e. where the money sits, is no longer where you originally recommended it. So rebalancing means bringing it back in line with the original recommendation, which then makes it suitable for their attitude to risk. So that's basically what all of our administrative paraplanners do. And to be an administrative paraplanner where I work, you don't need any qualifications as such. Of course, a role like this, they would like people to have qualifications, but you don't necessarily need qualifications to do an administration side of the role. But when you're doing my role, which is a technical paraplanner, then you do need to have qualifications. Most firms, as a minimum, will ask you to have your level 4 diploma in financial planning. So the exams that I have done are through the Chartered Insurance Institute, and I have completed 10 exams, I believe. I'm going to read out the exams that I've done for anyone interested, because that's something else I was asked from my last video. What exams have I actually done? Because I think a lot of people looking to get into this industry want to know what I've done, which is fair enough. So let me go onto my LinkedIn profile, so that I can find that information out for you, because I've got it all stored on there. So let's have a look. Because I can't remember now. I did my exams quite a little while ago, you know, guys. Okay, so the first exam that I completed was CF1, which is Financial Services Regulations and Ethics. And then I also completed FA2, which was Pensions Administration. I then completed CF2, Investment and Risk. I completed CF4, which is Retirement Planning, and they're all of the CF exams that I did. So I did these exams when I was in my first job, and at this point I didn't know that I wanted to be a paraplanner. I was completing these exams whilst being a financial administrator. So by doing them exams, I gained the Certificate in Life and Pensions, the CII Award in Pensions Administration, and I think that's everything, yes. And I also gained a level 3 NVQ in Financial Services and Administration. So they're all the level 3 exams that I did. And then when I changed firms and went to a new job, and I became the administrator paraplanner, so I went from an admin to administrator paraplanner. It's kind of the in-between mark, and not all firms have this role, but some firms do, so it just depends where you work at. But it's basically like a junior paraplanner without any exams. So when I got into that role at another company, my goal then was to become a full proper paraplanner, technical paraplanner, whatever you want to call it. So I knew that I needed to get my exams done fast. So at that time I had two options. I could either complete the regulated diploma in financial planning with the CII, which means I needed to do RO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Or I could continue with the exams I'd currently done and make up enough credits to get the unregulated diploma in financial planning, which is the old route. At this time, because I'd already done quite a few exams, I didn't want to start all over again, because RO1 is very similar to CF1. There's just a few little bits missing because obviously it's the next step up, which is level 4. So I decided I would go the unregulated route. Nothing wrong with this route at all. Obviously, if you're starting out now, you should probably go down the regulated route because it's quicker. There's just 6 exams, whereas I went a bit of the long-winded way because when I started my CFs, I didn't know that there was ROs. I wasn't really that clued up, I guess, on the industry. But if I look back now, I wish that I just started on RO1, not CF1, because I kind of feel like it was a little bit of a waste of time, because I had to do something called gap fill, which means I filled in the gaps of between CF1 and RO1 after completing my diploma. So yeah, anyway, long story short, so yeah, so the RO exams that I did was RO3, which is personal taxation. I then did RO4, which is pensions and retirement planning. RO8, which was the pensions update exam. RO2, which is investment principles and risk. RO6, which is financial planning practice, and then I did FA5, which is individual savings account administration. After doing all of them, as I said, I got my CII diploma in unregulated financial planning, but I also gained the CII certificate in investment operations, the CII certificate in financial services, and also the CII award in pensions update, because when you do multiple exams, it then forms a overall award or certificate in something else, so it kind of makes you feel a little bit more qualified and special. So they're all of the exams that I did. So once I completed my full level 4 diploma, I then transitioned into the role of a technical paraplanner. So paraplanners at every firm is slightly different. Some firms will have some of the initial tasks that I spoke about earlier in the video, including the more higher complex tasks, whereas other firms like to split them out into 2 different roles, like where I work currently. So, but I have been in roles before where I am expected to also do the initial starting points, such as more fact gathering type information and annual reviews and things like that. So every firm is different, so just take everything that I say with a pinch of salt. Where you work might not be exactly the same, but most companies operate in a kind of similar manner, so you'd like to think that some of what I tell you will be things that you may do in your role too. So personally in my role, once the administrative paraplanners have gathered all the information on whatever we are looking to do, so let me give you an example. Say we are looking at a pension case. We have a client who's got 5 pensions, and the advisor has said, right, we need to look into them pensions and see if it's suitable for the client to stay where they are or to transfer to a different scheme. The administrative paraplanner will gather all the facts and figures on that pension, well, the 5 pensions, bring the information to me, and that is my job to then research into that further to make the decision of what we're going to do with that money. Before I make the final call, of course, I would consult with the financial advisor to see if they're happy, but it's ultimately my job to almost be the brains of the financial advisor at this point, and to kind of take a steer with the advice and to see what we can do with it. So If it's a pension, I'd be looking at things such as the charges of the pension, also the fund performance as well is quite important as well, to see what the client's currently invested into, and to look at the funds and to see, one, how it's performed, but two, how does that compare to their risk profile? Are they taking too much risk? Are they not taking enough risk? It's also looking at the fund charges, it's looking at the plan features. Is a plan flexible? Can the plan do what the plan needs to do for the client? So for example, if the client's quite close to retirement and they want to take a flexible income from their pension, can their pension even facilitate that? Because if it can't, it might not be suitable for them. So I will undertake that exercise on every single one of their pension, and there's softwares that we use to input lots of the data as well, and then it does all sorts of weird and wonderful projections to see if that pension potentially could be transferred or not, if it would be justified or not. So I will then compare that pension to what else is available on the marketplace to see if it would be beneficial for the client to move their pension. So in a case that it would be beneficial would be if we had an available scheme which was cheaper, it had a wider investment range, so we could get something more suitable for the client's attitude to risk and their objectives. It might be investing in a slightly different manner than they're currently invested into. And it's also about the plan features, like I said. Can that plan that we're recommending facilitate what the client needs? If it can, that can be the major selling point here, because the client, if they need income from that plan and they can't get it where they are now, then they need to move at some point. So that's the starting point of the advice, and that's the first research point. After that, a big bulk of my job is completing something called a suitability report, and this is a massive advice report detailing everything about what we are doing for that client. So an advice report starts off by discussing the client's current circumstances and their objectives. So it will say things like, you are currently age X and you are age X, and you're in good health and you have X amount of dependents. It will also mention things like how many assets the client has, how much money they've got, what savings they've got, how much spare emergency cash reserves the client has got, their income, their net income, their expenditure, all kinds of things. It will be a complete summary of that client's life, and can they afford to invest, what are their goals, what are they trying to achieve. This is all summarised in the initial section. After that, we talk about affordability, we talk about attitude to risk, how much risk they're willing to take and they can take. Also something called capacity for loss, which is actually saying, can you afford to do what you want to do with your money? Because if they can't afford it, we shouldn't necessarily be recommending that, because it might not be in their best interest, even if the client thinks it is. Then we do an appraisal on their existing investments, if they have existing investments, and this will be outlining all of their existing plans, for example the pensions, and it will detail all the facts and figures on them pensions, like I said, the charges, the structure of the plan, everything like that. Then we will insert fund performance. So I like to compare the funds the client is currently in versus what we're recommending, and then I like to comment on the performance, I like to comment on the risk. So is what we're recommending lower risk or higher risk than what they're currently in now? Is it aligned to their attitude to risk? And attitude to risk varies on a scale of 1 being the lowest risk to 10 being the highest risk. And we also then comment on charges as well. So I'll outline all the existing charges versus the new recommended charges to see if there is a cost saving benefit as well. So that's all the steps that we undertake for a pension, for example, but it's quite similar to any other investment that we might recommend. And then there's lots of other paragraphs in the report. You know, we have to discuss things like all the risks of investing money and the risks of certain investments as well, and the drawdowns and benefits of all of these things, and the tax savings or any tax disadvantages. So we have to outline pretty much everything. So a suitability report isn't just about giving advice, but it is also about covering yourself as well, to make sure you have explained everything to the client and they have all the details there before they decide to proceed. So once the suitability report is written, it then goes to the financial advisor to read over that, because ultimately it is their advice documented in this document. So it's up to them if they're happy with it or not. They'll then make any changes that they may want to make, and then it'll be passed back to me to then make the final amends, and then it's ready to go back to the administrative paraplanners, who will then produce all of the application forms and any enclosures that need to go with that report to sign up the business. So enclosures and application forms is something that a lot of normal technical paraplanners would also get involved in, but in my particular job role I don't do that. That's passed back to the administrative paraplanners. So after that, that's pretty much my involvement with the case done. Then it's with the administrative paraplanners to let the process go through and to contact the providers and make sure the application goes through and all of that stuff. So let's talk about some other duties in my role that are non-report related. So there's other things that I get involved in, such as strategy letters. So strategy letters are similar to reports, but they're a lot more basic. It just might be an initial summary of the charge comparison and fund performance. Just a short letter, a couple of pages, just to see how the client feels about something before they decide to go ahead or not, because going ahead with something like a pension transfer can be quite expensive. So it's nice to give the client a little feel for it before they decide if they want to do that or not. So I'll produce short strategy letters as well, detailing things. I'll also produce something called a cash flow forecast. So cash flow forecasting is where we input all of the client's data, income, expenditure, all of their savings accounts, all of their pensions and investments, any regular monthly premiums they're paying into their pensions, and it's based on a set of assumptions. So there'll be assumptions such as growth rates, an assumption on what the interest rates are going to be over the next however many years, even assumptions on how long that client is going to live for, and many more assumptions. And I input all that data and I project it forwards, and it will show us a nice little chart on if the client can actually afford to do what they want to do. So a cash flow is used in cases such as to see how much income the client may have in retirement, or to see how much money the client needs to save to reach their retirement goals, or to reach any goals, in fact, not just retirement. It can also be used in pension and divorce scenarios where we're trying to determine if a certain split of money is going to be enough for a client to achieve their income requirements. So that's something that I produce on a software, and then I pull the data out of it and input it into a new letter, and then I create sort of a strategy letter again, commenting on the different scenarios. I often run multiple scenarios and input them into this letter, and then comment on each and every one so the client can decide what one feels best for them. We also stress test things to see if you do this, or if this happens, or if the market falls by this amount, this is what's going to happen, Mr. Client. Do you feel comfortable with that? And it's a real good talking point for advice, and to the client to really start thinking about, am I making the right decisions? Maybe I'm taking too much risk or not enough risk, and all of that stuff. Another thing that I get involved in is some of the post-review action points. So post-review action points is when the advisor has seen their client for an annual review meeting, and it's deciding what they need to do for that client on an annual basis to keep the client's financial situation healthy, I guess, and any changes that need to be made. And a lot of them action points will be undertaken by the administrator paraplanners, but there'll be some technical points that I'll need to calculate. And things like that could be if a client has pensions and they're looking to contribute to their pension, I sometimes have to look back to the previous 3 tax years to see how much money the client's paid into their pensions to determine how much they can pay in this year. Or it could be that the client has something called an investment bond and they want to withdraw money, but actually the tax side of things is quite complex. So there's quite big calculations that we need to do to determine how much tax the client may or may not pay, or how much they can withdraw without incurring a tax liability. I'll also get involved in things like inheritance tax planning and working out how much tax is due on that client's estate, and how much money we can invest into alternative investments to potentially reduce that. By that I mean things like AIM investments or EIS or ITS products. So there's lots of different planning areas that I get involved in. That's why I always say my job is never really boring, because every single day is different. It's very, very varied, I guess. And yeah, there's so many different things you could be doing. Even if you're doing reports every single day for a week, every report you're going to do is going to be so different that you're never doing the same thing. You don't feel like a machine just churning out the same piece of work every single day. That's for sure. In this industry, it's very different, and you know, you definitely have to use your brain. You can't just sit there and think, oh, today I'm just going to coast. It's definitely not that kind of job, guys. If you want a job that really uses your brain and challenges you and gets you thinking, and that's basically what being a paraplanner is. It's a real good taste for the industry to make you see how you feel about maybe advising in the future. It's a great starting point if you want to become a financial advisor, because it gives you the building blocks and helps you to understand what true financial planning is, I guess, and you know, how to actually plan properly for clients' circumstances and advice, and to help them reach their goals. So it's a real good starting point before becoming a financial advisor. And the reason why I've not become an advisor is just because I just enjoy doing my current role, to be honest. I don't want to push myself too much too soon. When I was younger, I rushed my career quite quickly to always want to progress to the next stage, and right now I'm just kind of enjoying doing what I'm doing. The job I'm doing currently also involves managing a team as well of 5, so I'm enjoying just kind of working on that as well, and not rushing every aspect of my career, but because I've been asked that before as well, like why haven't I become a financial advisor yet? But yeah, I'm just not quite there yet. I don't know if it's something I want to do in the future or not. We shall see. I used to want to do it, but right now I'm not so sure. So we will see about that. But I really hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope it helped any of you out there who do want to be a paraplanner, or maybe you are a maybe you are a paraplanner and want to know how your job role compares to someone else, or it might even just be for any of you out there who are interested in what my job involved, so now you know. So I really hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love for you to join my channel if you haven't already, and also give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.